Okay, I guess I'm rushing this video out. Well, rushing, I don't know. I have several pages of stuff that never made it into the other videos, and I'm going to try and skim and keep it a little bit shorter, I hope, or somewhat shorter. Anyway, I was just doing a review of this book that is the previous episode, 338 or whatever. And so I decided, well, while I'm on that topic, I might as well just cover this as also. Because they're sort of related. So this is not my typical video exactly where I'm really talking about Tinder very much at all. It's just kind of related content. And I'm not even necessarily talking only about Tinder, as I always have to disclaimer, all the dating apps. Matt Walsh did a video a couple weeks ago that you should watch the first half of it at least about, other people may have done similar videos already, but the first 10 minutes of that I thought was fine. All about, the dating apps being, kind of consumer fraud or whatever. And again, he's just griping. He's not bringing any class action lawsuit or anything. I don't know if anybody ever will. But apparently these companies are, filthy rich, but losing money, hopefully, but not fast enough to, collapse the entire industry just yet. But in this episode, we do have the employee being somewhat worried that AI will take the job. Like I said, I might skim some of that and leave out some. I talked about their opinion, Tinder gal's opinion of men investing in the stock market in episode 5. And then I left all this stuff for more in depth, but then I added some other junk that's kind of not on that topic, so I have to kind of sort it out again for next time. But there was some bit about tech bros deserve more hate, which of course would be the guys who employ her or make your job possible, I guess, that likely also dates pretty often, don't know. But they were doing some Orwellian concept of maximizing productivity or whatever. And some were trying to spin that as being useful for the future, and others like this criticizing. So I'm not going to go into all that. And then just to give an idea of what kind of employees we're talking about, I will mention this one again. Someone else had posted, here's the thing, I would love to be married and have kids, except every guy I have dated is either intimidated by my education and work experience, or they simply are stuck in traditional roles I will not be participating in. But you will end a sentence with a preposition, right? It's not big. My barrier is men, not my political ideology. No. Oh, but okay. Those men probably wouldn't be intimidated by your salary or whatever if you chose real men, I think. So yeah, we have what I assume is another narcissist just telling them, keep telling yourself that while you remain undateable, basically, that you're the one choosing not to. Whereas I'm pretty sure that a lot of men would not choose you after 5 minutes of conversation. Because here's the rub. Traditional roles is what makes up an actual marriage. Sorry, just kind of true. Yeah, so the smart, sane men continue to marry other women, and maybe a younger, prettier one comes along, and you know, you're free to be insufferable and boring all you and alone all you want. Nobody's stopping you. You didn't have to post this for attention, but here you are. Like so many of the other ones. Like I said, I don't want to go on and on and on because I have 5 other videos of that kind of content. But also likely afraid of real commitment, or afraid that he gets to be in charge in the bedroom, and you know, and a lot of them get into these hump and dump situationships and all that kind of thing. Like I said, I'm not going to go into all that. But these themes will come up in the comments of the other people. So my disclaimer will be forthcoming. Escape reality and blame them all instead. Yeah. Wretched fool. Okay, I don't know. Somewhere in here there was another comment. Oh yeah. The usual hypocrisy is that they say that traditional gender roles are bad, but then they refuse to pay for men when they go on dates, right? Tinder gal especially always saying that the men have to prove that they are serious by taking her somewhere fancy or whatever. I don't know. But then insists that she only doesn't only date wealthy, hunky men or whatever. So I'm sorry, I'm starting this all kind of boring. I had to scrap the last episode and restart the whole thing. It wasn't too far off the mark of what. So then Amanda, it was another reply to another meme. What I think I was supposed to. There was one of them where I was going to read the memes. I don't know if I know where all the memes are. Or care what they said. There was a okay, I'll just read them, and the comments may or may not sync up. Renewing marriage. This was from a news outlet that I don't know if they're a legitimate outlet at all. The political left has a marriage problem. What can be done was one of the headers. Renewing marriage in America will take more than helping working class men level up. It will require helping liberals see that marriage and family are not obstacles. Brad Wilcox and Grant Bailey, right? And then the other one is, it's not just a feeling. Data shows boys and young men are falling behind. Okay. And like I said, I'm not going to address that completely. But so Amanda says, I'll never get over how in an era when women's rights and status are being attacked and eroded in law and culture alike, we were insistently told that it was boys and men whose suffering we needed to attend to. So then Tinder gal, trying to be funny, I guess, says they should pull themselves up by the bootstraps. So here we have, okay, just go to Alex Grace's video from yesterday, all about women playing victimhood again. If you're not familiar with his channel, he seems to almost always cover these topics right when I'm doing a video on a similar topic. So that's nice. So the episode, this is what female power looks like. And then the previous one, I didn't finish watching either of these. The truth about women is finally being told, from 5 days ago. But he also has a secondary channel called Reacts, and those are shorter episodes on more brief topics or whatever. So here's a woman who, possibly got, her degree through DEI and edged out some, other scholarship candidate or whatever. Don't know, afraid to lose job to robot or someone half their age for a third of the price, which is what I think most of these companies should be doing anyway. Because, you know, if they're about to crash and burn, why are you paying so much overhead? You know, but they're not going to listen to me. If they did, they'd just put themselves out of business and go find something else to do anyway, because they're not interested in finding people, relationships, and romance anyway, which is why I'm doing these videos, which is why Matt Walsh did his video, but my video is usually about different stuff. So yeah, obviously this person is not interested in getting you a date, and they're also not interested in whether or not you're, you know, younger men are struggling for this reason or that reason. Just wants to make sure that if she meets those younger men, that they're willing to buy her dinner and vote for the Democrat of her choice. Which again, I don't talk about politics much in here, but obviously Amanda was going there in a tangential way. And yeah, the women's rights that are supposedly being attacked. Like I said, I'm not going to go into that, but obviously it's mostly hyperbole and gaslighting and all the usual nonsense. So afraid to lose jobs for some of the wrong reasons. Trying to go viral since all subscribers mostly lost interest since previous political, claptrap, whatever. A lot of the threads fizzled out. There hasn't been a lot of comments, so we'll get to the more interesting stuff in a little bit. But let's see. This was a lot about AI subscriptions. Like I said, afraid to lose their job. You don't care about the boys and their bootstraps. Well, you're going to want those boys to have good employment if they're going to have to support you if AI takes your job. Again, I don't know if they're going to want to marry you, even though you claim you want a relationship and other stuff. So yeah, says companies will rehire people as the computer cost begins to exceed the cost of hiring a human again. Well, that's unlikely to really happen because, as we know, technology gets less expensive as it gets usually better. I mean, we have much better computers and televisions now. The problem is the music and the film and all the other entertainment and things are all worse than back when we were making them with lousier technology. But that's for another day. But yeah, computers can be updated without needing to train new hires that also need health benefits and time off for maternity or vacations. Computers don't ask for raises or cost of living expense wage increases. They don't run late in traffic and come into work with 50 excuses. They don't BS around the coffee maker machine or the bathroom breaks, and they don't have drug and alcohol problems. So you might want to get over yourself if you think you're that indispensable going forward. So then Decent says, thing is, the hardware side is operating at massive profit. NVIDIA is actively directing development toward lowering operating costs for their customers. Yeah, again, it might get more expensive in some ways, but then we always have the Democrats and the other people both claiming that they are trying to eradicate the monopolies and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And again, as I mentioned in the last video, Spirit Air just ended, so who knows? I'm not trying to predict these kind of markets and things. So then AI, this was a post trying to drum up interest again. The whole AI will change the world narrative is just a marketing ploy to get us to use it so our skills atrophy. Once we're dependent, well, you can go learn Latin too if you think it's going to help, but you're not a lawyer, right? Once we're dependent, they'll jack up the prices. This is like streaming services on a much larger scale, and companies are falling for it left and right. you don't own a business, and you're definitely not in charge of an industry, but okay. Your alarmist concern is really more based on fear of losing your own position. Don't let your skills fade. They'll be highly sought after once a $20 Claude subscription becomes $1,000 a month. Yeah, your skills are already suspect in your whole industry. I mean, speaking specifically about Match.com and Tinder and Bumble and Humble and Doodle and whoever. These are companies that might be kaput soon anyway. If I had anything to do with it, they'd be gone already. And not just because of employees like this. Not just a company already that you claim is, yeah. In previous episode 4 or 3, I forget, might have been 3, a company that you already claim is a sexist patriarchy, but they overpay you. It's nothing but hypocrisies and blah, blah, blah. And there might be some valid, legitimate complaints in there too that I'm, kind of rudely ignoring because, again, I don't want this to go on all night or all day, since it's almost day here. So yeah, gets a lot of simpy replies and hearts them, but again, neither of these people owns a business, much less run an industry. All this information is above your pay grade. What kind of backdoor deals they make? They're not going to have to pay what a consumer pays for Claude GPI or whatever, GPT. Sorry, Chat GPT, whatever. I don't know the names of all, and I don't care. Like I said, this is tangential before we get to the part about the housing and whatnot. This is just stuff I had to add in because it is. But, again, I hesitate to call this employee a fraud or committing the actual fraud because I don't know how much of the job type description is baked in that they do that or how much they are good or bad at their job, based on those parameters. We just know that based on their attitude toward especially men, especially, again, conservative men, et cetera, that they don't have any vested interest in the company's, should be mission statement of finding actual people matches instead of just taking your money. And maybe you'll get a message. Maybe you won't. Good luck. Again, if you can get your money back, I would say do it. Unless you're, again, just trying to lie or, make yourself look better than you are to try and clean up with these silly women who can't tell a good man from a bad one if their life depended on it. But yeah, expensive. They seem to have more expensive hobbies than side hustles because, they make enough doing these kind of yuppie jobs. And then they act like they're so much better than the people who, again, the young men who are struggling or the men who work in labor who just can't date them because they just don't earn enough. Well, you took all the jobs from those guys and you took a lot of the college spots from those guys. And now you're complaining that those guys won't buy you enough drinks or whatever. So Area says, to be honest, $1,000 a month isn't a deal breaker if the return is solid. Yep. Again, and they're not even paying that. That's a retail cost, not a wholesale cost or whatever. Brack repeats what I said already. It honestly has nothing to do with any of our skills, robot labor versus whatever. We are more expensive and inconvenient than AI could ever be once they jack up the prices. That will definitely happen, but they could care less if any of us use it at that point. Their customers are all the other businesses, and they will gladly pay the overall lower cost for 24/7 work at a fraction of the cost than human labor, again, which they could get by canning all the women over 30 and getting more college graduates to work as interns anyway. And like I said, yeah, half your age for a third of the money. Expect that anytime soon. Anyway, even if they don't phase you all out for AI immediately. Probably, because they're going to need to be cutting costs if they're really losing this much money anyway, according to Matt Walsh and others. So, oh, okay, I definitely don't want to get into this. I was going to, but now I won't. This is about religion and such. Then there was a video, a couple of videos, and there was new comments that I didn't have in time for the previous episode. So I'm just going to put them here now, even though I should probably put these in the next video instead. But the one guy says, Dark says, looking for romance on a dating app is the most unwise thing you could ask for. Agree. And UR says, in real life, the male to female ratio is different. And once you start looking outside the states, your odds are better. And it's likely so are the options. So there's our peanut gallery. So, okay, now here we go into where this is going to get messy. And yeah, this is, there was a photo of a baby, and they had and it was a conservative, had meme captioned it. A moment of silence for all the women who didn't have children so they could work harder for their corporation. Now, I'm not going to argue whether or not women should have careers that, again, like I said, the peanut gallery will take off with that. There's my disclaimer that I said was forthcoming. The Tinder gal here, I think, was bored on a Friday night, home from a date or none already, and engaged in a couple things, and then kind of leaves the conversation for the most part, and other people just kind of run away with it. And that's, like I said, that was where it kind of got interesting to me. I'm not going to try and necessarily, I'm already going blind trying to read and with the light in my face. So it's going to be really hard. So I'll try not to make it too redundant when I interject. But so, of course, this one says, or maybe don't be an a-hole to people who just didn't meet the right person at the right time in life. I feel bad for your baby who will grow up with a mom that has no common sense or empathy. Again, more gaslighting. And excuses, playing the victim again. You probably met plenty of right persons at the right time that you nitpicked to death or something else. Or you just had such bad taste in men that, whatever, we won't blame you for that per se, but you might not be a person who should be a parent anyway, based on a lot of the things that we've covered. Again, I don't want to go into all that in this episode and be too redundant. I'm sure there was at least one nice guy dumb enough to want children with you, and you rejected them, etc., etc. But again, Alex Grace does a much better job at covering that kind of thing. Because I don't go into psychology so much here. But there was in one video, there was a boyfriend who went off to Oregon. I don't know if this was someone she was trying to reconnect with and how long ago they basically dumped her or chose their career path over her because I guess they knew they would make enough money to just find someone else maybe better. And we know that this is still an unwed woman without a family because she just told us that she didn't meet the right person at the right time. Well, apparently that guy wasn't the right person, and now they're gone. But right. I didn't. Matt Walsh. Oh, okay. Sorry. Just to recap, the second Matt Walsh video was mostly a waste of time. But then Dime said catfishing is a big problem also. And user said, I had the unfortunate experience of going on a first date with a woman who appeared to be a pretty Latina on her profile, but turned out to be a pasty white redhead and not so attractive in person. Don't know if it's the same person, don't it? Doubt it. It's just being funny. She literally was not the same person in the photos. I was too nice and non-confrontational and had a drink with her before ending the date. Okay, I should have mentioned this earlier, but everything's kind of out of order here because I just kind of cut and pasted stuff. Then Forrest says, all of the conservative women are taken. I tried the agree to disagree relationship for 3 miserable years before it ended in a meltdown over me not being anti-ICE. Citizen says, yep, they usually get married right after high school, meaning, yeah, the conservative women, or they meet their true love in college and it works out for them. Okay, so now we're finally getting to the part. Sorry, like I said, this is a little jumbled, but that's the way it goes on this channel. Here it is. This is a bit about the. So they posted a article or something about women owning homes more. I guess especially younger women, and blames men for gambling addiction for the reason they don't own a home. I guess, and the stock market may have been part of that from the previous episode. I don't remember. So here they said the gender wage gap is over, ? No, it's still there, but men are out there sports betting on FanDuel and losing their shirts on Polymarket and Kalshi, and then trying to earn the money back making podcasts. Well, again, there might be some validity to that. I don't know. I'm not really in touch with those kind of men. Most of the men I know are worked jobs and did everything the old-fashioned way, and still don't always end up with the non-crap end of the stick. Sorry, my eye is just completely bugging out from this, trying to read and going blind at the same time. So like I said, here's where the conversation starts, and just I'll try and keep it cohesive. So Elizabeth says, are you saying men can't buy homes because of sports betting or sarcasm? LOL. Aaron says, she's just throwing that out there. Reply, I don't know if this is Aaron says this too. I think so. 3 things contribute to more single women owning homes than single men. Now, again, I think in the original article it said younger women buying homes, not just women owning homes, but don't quote me on that. I don't know exactly who got the wrong end of the stick, but it leads to the arguments that, again, you can accept or disregard and do your own research on that stuff. I'm just reading this as, I guess, entertainment. Disclaimer number 3. So Aaron says, I think 3 things contribute to more single women owning homes than single men. 1, women live longer, so yeah, they're gonna be single after that hubby passes. 2, women are more likely to keep the house in the event of the divorce, and that's the one that's going to come up over and over again with all the men going their own way commenters that are, bound to show up. 3, buying a home as a single woman doesn't increase her chances of finding a partner, but a man becomes a more suitable dating prospect when he owns a home. So men buy a home and then get married, no longer a single homeowner. Kind of what happened with my stepdad, actually. He lived in an apartment until he bought a house for my mom and her children. But he does not give the age of the single women, nor divorce or widow, nor if divorced or widow too. I'm assuming I'm talking about the article here. might, or maybe him or Tinder gal, whoever I thought was supposed to provide me with more information. So all gals in their 20s, straight out of college, and work at Starbucks are buying homes? Nah. And like I said, yeah, based on the statistics, maybe more of them are buying the homes, but that doesn't mean the majority of them are buying the homes. Most of them are spending all their money on shoes and clothes and concerts and travel and complaining that they don't have any money and expecting their parents to bail them out and moving back with their parents. That's been the overarching trend for zillennials or millennials or whatever, not they're all in a palace in Beverly Hills living next door to Shakira or whoever. So my T says the pay gap hasn't been real for decades. Yeah, again, let's come back to this with the whole Hollywood versus Hillary Clinton argument from 12 years ago, right? Or whenever. It doesn't control for hours worked or the fact that millions of men and women work in professions that are dominated by one sex. The other silly notion is that home ownership automatically equals wealth. I'd expect more single women to own homes. Much higher percentages of single women have children. Women tend to move less for jobs. Men simply wait until they are married and save their money and give their wife say in picking a house. Choices. Yeah. Then Body says single dudes don't need to buy an oversized stationary nest. Yeah, exactly. Again, my stepdad didn't, and he had 2 jobs or something at the time. Let's see. DJ says men are terrible. Yes, I know. Wait, what was the question again? Sorry, I dozed off. Lost says, why is every time there is a statistic that says, hey, I think that means the women are doing something beneficial to them, the first thing that comes up is men. Are they buying homes to flex on men, or are they buying them because they need accommodations? Shaking my head. Carol says, there's no wage gap. Y'all get paid less because you deserve less. Not because y'all are women, but because y'all go into office type of job rather than manual labor type of job. You want to make as much as men, then leave cubicle or classroom and get on a roof. Partly true. They get paid more for the cushier jobs, like the ones worried about losing it to AI now. So, okay, there's that. But they better buy their houses and figure out how to squirrel away that money before the computer replaces them, because the guy digging the trench isn't getting replaced yet. Although they are working on those robots too, we know. So then AZ says single women own more homes than men, yet another reason not to get married. So, well, I wouldn't say don't get married. I would say just avoid gold diggers. Anyway, like Tinder gal, probably. Jeff says, now show total average value of savings, investment, and retirements accounts based on gender. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, we know that the women overall, no matter what you argue about feminism and blah, 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 are terrible with budgeting money overall. Maybe if they have children, they're a little better. But these women who are buying these homes, if they're single mothers, probably don't have the money to buy the home because they're spending the money on the children and other things. So it's probably not the ones who need the homes that have the homes. Yada, yada, yada. Like I said, I don't have all that data here that we can statistically analyze correctly. But from anecdotal evidence and, common sense and seeing the trends and knowing who's around and yada, yada. So then IT says there is no wage gap. Women take more off time at same pay rate. Yeah. So then here's a separate argument where the Tinder gal does come in here. Untouch says, I bet this broad has no man. It's always a single broads nobody wants that stay criticizing men. Happy women in relationships and marriages don't do this. Well, that's mostly true, I guess. Like you said, I think you've just described the person that's about to attack you. But yeah, and the married women don't need nightlife much and all that when they have children. Again, they're not worried about going out to cool clubs and all that stuff every week and blah blah blah. Covered all that in episode 4 and or 5 or whatever. So she replies, "Out of here with your caveman views." Says the unmarried woman with no children. We live in 2026. Go get in a time machine, and who doesn't believe in gender roles in a marriage, which might be why you don't have a marriage. Go get in a time machine and go back to the year 700. Going back pretty far. I thought you'd mean 1950. 3 laugh emojis with the crying. Effin' dork. Nice trash mouth again. Effin' dork acting like women didn't help engineer every damn thing he touches in life. Oh, so, okay. A total other tangential argument that, again, the stuff that women have, invented versus men have invented. And, I think if you went back through the actual centuries, counting from the year 700 or even farther back, you're still going to get a lot more technology created by men for the betterment of mankind. And here's, it's again more hypocrisy, because here's someone who acts like they could live without plastic and oil products, and act like fossil fuels are going the way of the dodo soon, but couldn't live for 10 minutes without your own cell phone or, I don't know, Bic lighters to smoke your dope or whatever. Needs no man, but dates for validation. Also, their argument, again, Alex Grace and other channels covering that. Probably going to lose that job soon, one way or the other anyway. Again, the AI that I think men are mostly creating. Times were better in the 1970s, as far as I'm concerned, yeah. But so you don't need to go back so far to the 700s when there were still more high quality more high quality women for men to marry, instead of all this kind of trashy arguments and reinvent the wheel philosophies and such. But again, this is a person who works for a dating app who doesn't like men for the most part. So then another bit nobody addresses. So Wes says that the statistic is affected more by divorce than anything else. Look at it this way. If only single, never married people were in this data, it would show a different number. But with divorced people in the statistic, with divorced people, the statistic is affected at a rate of double in favor of the women, who more often end up with the house. Yeah, exactly. But like I said, I thought the original article said buying, but don't quote me on that. Or do quote me on that, but don't quote me on what the actual article said. Because again, this guy is, like I said, going to be echoed. So then Force says, yeah, read the article. It's literally not that at all, but thanks for trying to undermine women. Well, again, I don't see how he was undermining women. Again, more all he said was that, women are at an advantage in this current society, which they are. They get free houses more often than men do in these situations. That's not a mystery. They get possession of the children most of the time too, and maybe the dog. Tree, whatever, I don't know. Clearly you didn't read anything, because the data does actually does include women who got their house during divorce. See, so again, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure Force is wrong and Tree is right. Because Force just wants to scream about feminism and claims they read the article, but then doesn't give us any tidbits from the article to reaffirm their position. which would be what I would do if I wanted to look like the superior voice and not the idiot in the conversation. So the data does include women who got their house during divorce. The only question is what percentage of these women were divorced, ? And the answer is about 2/3 of these women were previously married. So again, don't know if that's accurate, but pretty sure that if somebody's coming with you with an actual statistic or something that might be an actual statistic, they might have actually read the article that I didn't read. Cash then says, this is actually because of divorce. Usually women get the better deal and keep the house, not because they make more money, LOL. Yep. Wes then comes back from beyond saying, how many of those single women homeowners got it in the divorce? That would double the difference in the statistics. They would get a 1 up while the men go 1 down. Yeah, exactly, because math isn't, we're talking about 2 different sets of people, therefore the math affects each of the categories, not independent of each other in this case. Where says, no, it's because most of those single women are divorced. Single women, most of those single women are divorced single women and get it through the court and or don't have to pay child support. That's just one theory, though. Yeah. So then Wes comes in a separate tangent. Sorry, what I just read about Wes saying about the one-to-one thing. This gets a new whole segment going of argument with somebody commenting on that, apart from that other independent stuff. So Vivian says, if the home is a marital asset in divorce, then the person who keeps it has to be able to buy the other person out of their equity and also be able to afford any mortgage on the property. So women in divorces aren't being handed paid off houses for free in the divorce. Okay, again, do your own research, but the guy still has to pay for his own apartment in addition to whatever mortgage he is also on the hook for, and often child support and often alimony. Again, not that I'm in that position, so I don't know all the particulars, but from what I've seen and heard from friends who will maybe never get married again or whatever, if she kept it, so anyway, they keep going. If she can afford to, if she kept it, she can afford to, which means she would have likely owned a house even if she never got married. No, a lot of times you have to sell that house in the divorce and then they have to move into a smaller house or something. And that's how they afford it, not because they stay in a house that's bigger than they can afford. You know that. And so that's why they're always complaining that the place is too small and blah, blah, blah. And he should give her more money for the kids and blah, 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 even though he has to support his own bachelor pad or whatever. So then Wes comes back, dream world you live in. I know plenty of men who lost their house they paid for that their ex-wife still lives in and they pay her alimony. Yeah, it's like I just said that. SAHM, I don't know what that means. They spent the last 40 years getting special treatment in divorce court. Yeah, in many cases. Like I said, there is plenty of videos about that. I'm not going to go into it here. RSS says, do those men have children with said wife? The home is for them. In the majority of those cases, once the last child moves out, the house is sold and the profits are split. Well, again, I think that doesn't always happen 10 or 12 years down the road or whatever. I think that often happens before the children are grown. 3 says, no, you don't. Alimony is rare even for SAHPs. So I don't know what SAM is and what SAP is. Single adult household providers. I don't know. Single adult hetero men. Something. I don't know. I'm just guessing at what these initials stand for. You can look them up on your own. Men claim they are providers and reap the benefits of having their spouse stay home, then claim they are getting special treatment, meaning the wives are getting special treatment. Yeah, I don't know what the statistics are on women who work versus women who don't work, but I'm pretty sure most of the women work now, so that's not accurate either. So then in another tangent, your says amongst the never married people, it's 50% of men and 47% of women who are homeowners. So again, I don't know if that's accurate or not. Juti says being awarded the home in a divorce doesn't mean they get a free house. They're also awarded the mortgage. Okay, so we know that's not 100% true. Rob says nobody said it's a free house, but if more women than men keep their house after a divorce, which they do, then that'll obviously affect the numbers. Yeah, again, because it said in the other guy said in the article, it says women, not unmarried single women or whatever, and buying and not. Okay. Rob continues, less than a third of men keep their house after a divorce compared to almost half of all divorced women. Then Vivian comes back, who's not as clueless as that other, whoever that other commenter was. If they keep the home, it was either their separate asset owned before marriage or inherited. Or if it is a marital asset, she was likely ordered to buy the man out of his share of the home and will still be able to pay any existing mortgage. So is likely the type of person who would have been able to afford a home without a divorce. Maybe, but again, depends on where we're discussing urban or suburban, blah, blah, blah. Our debt says it all depends. I think it's getting more fair than it traditionally has been. My uncle had to pay his ex-wife her share of the house equity, then also pay her child support while he had physical sole custody because she would show up to court and get a male judge to buy her sob story about needing money to get settled so she could eventually take custody. I doubt something like that would happen today, almost 2 decades later. But shite like that is reflected in these stats today. And then Ju says, that's because children of divorce deserve a stable environment, but that still makes us homeowners. Then there was some comment missing, some reply about women don't do sports betting. No, but again, they have shoe shopping addictions and single mom bastard kid problems and all that. Okay, I can't. It's the cursor's blinking. I can't read this. Okay, so yes, patriarchy hurts men too. This is an example of how. Question or exclamation point. For the first 200 years of this country's existence, white men competed against only white men. Small pools make weak fish. Women have had to work twice as hard to be taken seriously. We have educated ourselves and prepared for life. Men prepared to be cuddled and coddled by the patriarchy, and they're falling behind. OPE, whatever that means. Okay, it sounds like you couldn't care less if men fail and then the whole economy collapses because you're not going to take any of those jobs that those men do. Yada, yada, yada. And the robots aren't ready yet to do those jobs. So Dabbing says, when men get money, they want to find a wife to build with. When women get their own money, they buy a house for themselves, like Tinder. Yeah. It's got less to do with money and more to do with priorities. And then Mr. C says, single women acquire their homes mainly from divorces. Those who didn't usually end up alone. Single men have no need for a home without a family. This isn't the flex you think it is. Just another stat to gas over worked women and shite on very simple men. Okay. Then Jay says, there are more women than men. Obviously, there should be more women that own homes. Well, if there's more women than men, then most of the men should already be married and only the crazy single ones would be left. Or only the crazy ones would be left single, like I said in the last video. Statistically speaking, if these dating apps actually work. So I'll throw that in here again now. But anyway, so Jay says, older age groups heavily skew toward women. Yeah, again, the men die younger too because they work themselves to death in real jobs, not sitting around complaining about stress from typing all day or arguing with Brittany down the hall about whatever. I love stereotyping because, gives me something to do. So Jay says, understanding rate of ownership per demographic is more important than raw totals. Yes, exactly. A lot of these numbers are kind of bandied about and don't tell the whole story and blah, blah, blah. So then cash, I assume that's the same cash as before. This is actually because of divorce. Usually women get the better deal and keep the house, not because they make more money. LOL. Okay, that was the exact same. They put the exact same quote twice, or I've read it twice. Okay. And you says, some dude further up in my timeline posted this too. And his conclusion his conclusion was that maybe women were hiding their income sources and that they probably weren't making less than men. I don't know if that's a shrug emoji or what. Yeah, they can have an OnlyFans anyway that I can't bother to do. Who's gonna pay to watch me take off my shirt? Probably nobody. And Etsy is definitely geared toward women, I've noticed. Another tangent that I won't go into. So Jason says, realtor here, single men usually don't bother because they expect their future wife to change everything. Also, they want flexibility to pack up and move if a better job prospect comes along, like her Oregon boyfriend did. Aaron said, yes, men focus on putting money in retirement plans and playing the stock market early on. After they settle down, they shift more towards tangible assets. But yeah, again, Tinder gal probably loves to complain about Trump, but is happy when his stock market goes through the roof and boosts her 401k, right? Bragged about that plenty in episode 2 or 3 or whatever. Prele says, women are supposed to have more money. They make men pay for everything. Break the habit. I guess he means stop dating women because they can buy their own cheeseburgers. I'm not positive what exactly. That's my assumption what that means. Fictional says this is baseline primate behavior and humans are primates. It is not directly about marriage or even partnering with men in any type of monogamy. Females make the nest. Males are drawn to the periphery of that to find a mate. That is super common. Women are the foundations of cooperative and stable society. So, not according to that one study where they left the women alone in the house, or the girls alone in the house, and the boys alone in the house, and the women couldn't cooperate at all and wanted to kill each other, and the boys made a hierarchy and figured out how to survive a lot better than the girls did. Some of that is because, yes, child rearing requires stability and community support. So even if humans now feel above all that, it is still an instinctual baseline for our species. Sure, okay. But the younger ones are even more horrible than the women her age now. So they're almost feral at this point and just want to live their narcissistic main character energy and best life and all that nonsense, sloganism. Again, I'm not totally against all of this and that. It's how it's presented or applied. Or anyway, JT says there is no pay gape. They meant gap. The idea that it is a complete miscalculation. Well, no, there is a pay gap, but again, it's based on job selection, not two people at the same job with the same level of skill and education and all that. Except in Hollywood, where women are more disposable still and all mad about it. So they started making movies that nobody wants to pay to watch. Apparently, Prada made money this weekend, but I didn't see it, and it probably won't. Subject for another day. MO says, and men built your home and, yeah, exactly, and your car and the roads. Again, not going to argue that men invented everything ever, but even if they didn't invent the cars and the roads, they're the ones maintaining them for you. You're not fixing your own roads. You're not doing your own mechanic stuff much. You might know how to change your own oil or something, but probably still pay someone to do it, even if you know how to do it. I don't pay, I don't change my own oil. I pay somebody to change my oil too. It's not, not what I want to do. 44 says, I'm tired of those women who are just angry at men. Tedious. Again, yeah, I have like 30 pages of this, and we're about halfway through it, and I don't know how far we're going to get. We're at about an hour, and I said this was going to be a shorter video, but then I added all that stuff at the beginning again, same as always. And so Tinder gal, yeah, pretty much just hates them and us and refuses to admit it and claims that 80% of men are losers, but loves the men in her life, all 4 of them that don't want to marry her. Worm says, this is even dumber than the excuses men give. Congrats on the creativity, I guess. There you go. Force says, 1, pick me energy is a no. 2, yes, the $30 in dinner I saved Saturday really helped with my down payment. Girl, what are you talking about? Then Wait says, how often are these dates happening? So we've drifted into another batch of non sequitur comments almost, but Bresh says, I don't know if Bresh is a female, I guess. I think I put that. I went to the U.S. Army College and got a federal employment. That's how I got my house. So speak for yourself, stupid. So I don't know who the stupid person is that they're talking to, if it's Worm or Force or Tinder gal. Not sure. KJ says, well, because women look for partners based on who has a house and man doesn't. Yeah, partly. Or mostly. I think I might be looking at your buttocks more than your stock portfolio. K-A-W, not K-O-W. Single women also pay the highest interest rates of all homeowners in 49 of the 50 states and face the highest rates of foreclosures. High interest equals less equity in their homes. Okay, so another way that they're not saving money, I guess. Aaron, I don't know if that's the same Aaron from before or not. Women are more likely to buy a home on the high end of their affordability range, while men are more likely to buy older and less expensive homes. He can fix it up. Few women have those skills, but also women like nicer things. This is why the pink tax exists that they like to complain about. Men are more likely to buy generic and restrict purchases they don't deem necessary. Yeah, again. So price for men's goods is more elastic, leading to lower prices. Yeah, and again, they don't have the same shoe shopping addiction and hair and nails and makeup every week and that kind of thing. Then Aaron continues, the exception is sporting goods. Men are more likely to buy high-end sporting gear, which is why men's sporting goods cost more than women's. It's all simple supply/demand. But feminists just have to be victims in everything. Their answer is always, we're oppressed. So then, new tangent. I believe this is the guy attacking Tinder gal or somebody else along here that may or may not reply. One says, surely you jest. So jest about what? I don't know, women owning homes or men paying more, or I have no idea what they're jesting about. T1 says, I feel like this is total satire and nobody's getting it. Ha ha. Okay, that's definitely it. Okay, yeah, so both of these are attacking Tinder gal, who does not reply at all. Gave up hours ago, and all these other people ran with it. Okay, KYR says, yeah, I saved my 100K deposit because all those dates I went on, I didn't spend $6 on a coffee. Girl, please. I feel like I read that already. Maybe I'm wrong. Luke says, ooh, it smells like bitterness in here. Must have struck a nerve. 4 laugh emojis. Always better when a woman says it. Big time. Okay, so yes, Tinder gal is definitely one repelling men and wondering why, and then complain, and then insist that they have so many men stacked up in their dating profiles, but then complains about almost every single one of them that they're not making enough money or not cool enough or whatever, like we said. Okay. The black says LMAO, men aren't getting dates. Well, the ones with money still can for sure. Free dinner time for the 304s and the serial daters, I guess. Okay, so this was the part that I read in part 5. Okay, we finally made it to here at 1 hour in. So I promised I was going to reread this. But there's a chunk, and then there's stuff about divorce again. More stuff skipped in part 5. We're literally only at page 20. Yeah, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop here and save my voice. And maybe people will watch this. Don't know. And so I'm a liar. So this is for part 7 now. Instead of rereading a big chunk that I read. But it is, it's all the stuff about dating being not equal, men paying more for dates and all that kind of thing. So since we already had all the stuff about houses and divorces, I guess I don't need to reread it right now. Anyway, even though I said I would. Okay, so as always, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. I know these are long and nobody's ever going to make it to this end. I can say whatever I want here and it won't matter. Boycott Tinder. Oh, wait, that's the whole title of the chapter. I don't even have to reiterate that. But, you know, I did have to activate the buy me a coffee thing. Buy me a pizza, buy me a book, buy me a better book. I don't know. I didn't think this one was terrible all the way through, but I thought it read really fast and whatnot for $30 because I bought it new for a change. Not the norm. Trying to do the frugal living thing, and $30 books don't help. So anyway, if you like this content, let me know. If you don't like this content, chances are I won't care. I'm going to continue to make some of it because, like I said, I already have like 10 thumbnails planned out at nothing else. even if they do finally get shorter and shorter as I go. Yeah. Knock on. All right.